Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Valiantys' Jira for All Teams webinar. Thank you for joining wherever you are in the world. The focus of this webinar is going to be on real-life use cases of how any team, not just IT teams, but any team, have used Jira and other Atlassian products. My name is Jason Kidner. I am an enterprise solutions architect here at Valiantys. I'm also an Atlassian certified professional. I'm going to be your tour guide for the next hour through these various real-life examples and various Atlassian products. I'm also joined today by my colleague, Kristen, who is going to be monitoring the Q&A area of this call, and she's also going to be putting in some helpful links into the chat. So keep an eye out for the chat. And please, if you have any questions, please put them into the Q&A area on this meeting. All right, let's get to our agenda. It's pretty straightforward. First off, there's going to be a couple introductory slides, so some thoughts around working as teams. And then the bulk of this webinar is going to be on those real-life examples that various non-IT teams, how they've used the Atlassian products. And then at the end, there'll be a few moments for questions. So please put those in, and I will do my best to answer them. All right, let's get started. So as we think about introductory thoughts, this webinar is not just going to be about Jira, okay? It's really, again, going to focus on those real-life use cases of both an array of Atlassian products and tools and also processes that will help you and your teams work in a better way, okay? No matter what type of team you're on. This is not, Jira and Atlassian products are not just for IT or service desk teams, okay? So what are some ingredients into working in a better way? Okay, these are just some very high-level thoughts, but hopefully they'll resonate with you. So working in a better way means making work visible, okay? Also having clear next steps in your processes, making sure everybody knows what's the next step in the process, what's going on here, where's it going next? Making work collaborative, okay? So everybody can see what the work is doing, to see that you can work together, that you can share your knowledge well together, okay? Also using flexible tools that can change as quickly as your environment changes, okay? So there's tools that can be customized very quickly. And then lastly, shifting the mindsets of yourself or your team from doing more work in less time to generating more value with less work. So a real focus on value add, not just about getting work done, okay? So those are some high-level thoughts, again, that you're going to see kind of running through each of these real-life examples. Okay, then I have this in here, this people, processes, and tools, because this is kind of like, these are the foundational elements of the work you're doing, no matter what type of company you are, no matter what type of team you are in that organization. So you have people, processes, and tools. And I have them in this order because people, they're your foundation, right? You're not doing things without people, without your team members, okay? So you have your people, then you have the processes that you as a team or as an organization are working with. Ideally, those would be processes that are focused on value, that are focused on collaboration, that that makes sense, that it's not just a bunch of busy work you're doing, but you're actually doing things that help deliver whatever your company's and your team's trying to deliver. And then ultimately you have tools that are in place, that are flexible, that can help support your people and your processes and not hinder those. And tools can be incredibly helpful, but I have this noted here. They can be incredibly helpful, but tools by themselves can't solve your people or your process problems. So many times I've worked with clients, they have pain points, and those pain points aren't necessarily things the tools can ultimately solve. The tools can certainly help, but it also starts to open up questions around your processes. And ultimately you have people that hopefully, your people contribute to that. But just wanted to highlight that all these products, all these tools we're going to talk about, they can't necessarily be the magic wand for all your pain points. And speaking of tools, this is where the Atlassian, the Atlassian slide comes in. So we are an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner. We are an Atlassian first company. So the products and the examples I'm going to show today are all centered around Atlassian products and tools. And Atlassian products are very likely to already be used in your organization. We often work with business teams who are interested in Atlassian products and then come to find out that their organization's already using them. Maybe, most likely potentially in the software team and the IT team. Maybe one of your teams is using Jira Service Management in your IT area. So yeah, Atlassian tools are very ubiquitous, very well known, very highly used around the world. So, but if your team is coming on board and are interested in using Atlassian and you're already using them, you can certainly reach out to your admins. You can get Atlassian tools customized to your use cases very easily. And these tools are also very inexpensive. So if your company doesn't have them yet, they're very inexpensive. You can try all of these tools with 30-day free trials. You usually don't even necessarily need to get your VP of procurement involved. You can give it a credit card and get started up very easily. I'll mention later that we do help with licenses, but we can certainly help you get started as well. So the overall focus of Atlassian products are to help teams, work better together. And so they're designed for teams. They're designed to be collaborative, flexible, scalable. And so these various products that I'm going to talk about, like the Jira products here, there's Jira Work Management and Jira Software. These actually, while those terms are still out there, Atlassian is now packaging these together as just Jira. So, but you can create business or work management projects, and you can create software projects within Jira. But I'll just kind of note that, and you might not necessarily see work management out there in some of my demos, but it's there in those business projects. There's also Jira Service Management that we'll talk about related to your service desks. That's a whole other product that can layer together with Jira to provide lots of great, really cool features that I'll demo as well today. Then there's Confluence. That's a wiki-style documentation tool. Definitely going to highlight that today. Trello, we're going to just touch on Trello very briefly, but that's another board-centric tool that's in the Atlassian ecosystem that a lot of different teams like to use. Maybe teams that aren't necessarily even in Jira may be using Trello right now. And there's some tie-ins that can connect Trello and Jira and Confluence together as well. So, and there's other Atlassian products out there that we're not going to focus on today that we highlight in other webinars we have. So that's a little bit of information on the Atlassian products. Now we're going to shift gears to the practical examples. And we have 5 practical examples that I'm going to highlight today: task management, project management, hiring and onboarding, service desks, and centralized knowledge. Okay, so again, these, as you might imagine, could apply to many different types of teams and in many different types of industries. So we are going to jump in right now into our first example, which is task management. So for each of these, you're going to see kind of a flow here. We're going to start off with some high-level information about who this affects, the problem that they encounter, potential solution to that problem, and the tools that could be used to help provide a solution for that. So first off, task management. This applies to everyone, right? Every sort of team, organization, industry. They're trying to work. They have work to do, and work items and tasks that you're trying to complete. So the problem often is that teams don't know, what do we have to do, or what do I particularly on my team have to do versus another person on my team. There's also the question of, well, is everything up to date? Can I really trust the work that's there, or how can I know the latest status update on a task without getting on a Slack or an MS Teams message and just taking a lot of time up around that. And then there's just the who's taking care of that, who's supposed to be on that. Is it me? Is it somebody else? Who's to be responsible? So the solution at a very high level is centralized task management. with multiple views, multiple ways to view the work, and to be able to share that, and for other people to be able to see that work as well. And ideally moving away from spreadsheets that might be living on someone's computer or even on the cloud, but nobody's sure how to get to that spreadsheet. So the tools here, we're going to focus on Jira, the work management, like a business project, but this could also certainly be used. You could also use Jira software projects. You could potentially even use Trello as a really, kind of basic tool for this as well. So this is where I'm going to now jump over into the tools, and we're going to highlight, in this case, Jira Work Management, or what happens to be called a business project within Jira. So as you can see here, I've got Jira open. This is going to be all the products that I'm going to demo and show you today are cloud-based products. So Atlassian, again, is becoming more of a cloud-first organization. So all the demos you're going to see are in their cloud products. So here I'm going to jump into a business project called accounting and go to the summary page of this project. So when I say project here in Jira, it's really a container of work items, okay? So a project can really be for anything. A project could represent a team. It could represent a whole department. It could represent a specific body of work, a project that you're working on too. So just wanted to highlight those terms that we're using here within Jira. So business projects within Jira have a summary that just comes out of the box. You can't really customize this very well, but it's meant to give some high-level overview and activity breakdown of what's happening within your project. There's also a board view. This is what it looks like in a business project. So boards have columns based on a workflow status. So that gets into that next step in your processes. So you can set up very customized workflows, which we'll talk about a lot more in one of the later examples. But the idea here is that you can tell where something is in its workflow, in its life cycle. And here on the board, you can actually use this, not just for visualization, but you can move work from one process step or workflow status to another. So you can see, ideally you can come out here as a team, and at any point in time, you can see exactly where a particular task is in its workflow. Each of the cards here on this board represent a different task or work item within Jira. This blue checkbox represents a specific work item type called a task. So that's what you can see out here, and you can see some more information too on these cards, like who's assigned to them, when might they be due, things like that. So there's this board view that is really valuable. There's also a really helpful list view in the business projects. These list views actually are starting to be implemented in software projects as well because they're just so handy. And as you can see here, all of those people, maybe your team is on using spreadsheets or something like a grid view of work in another tool. Well, that same view can be brought here into Jira as well. So those work items, they have various fields in them that can be filled out, and those fields then show up as different columns in this list view. So, and again, this can be updated in line, you can update the summary, you can update all these in line, and there'll be just real-time updates into the Jira database. So there's that view. There's also a calendar view that will leverage some of the out-of-the-box fields within Jira, like start date and due date. And when those are filled in, then you'll start to see different visualization of those tasks out here on the calendar. And you can see which ones are overdue, which ones are coming up in the future, which ones are in progress, things like that. So that could be very helpful for certain people on your team or roles. There's also a timeline view. This is a little bit of a basic roadmap view, if you will. And it also highlights here that you can collapse some of these and see a work breakdown structure that comes with Jira. And so out of the box, Jira has a work item called an epic, that lightning bolt icon you can see there. And then you can have multiple work items types underneath that epic. In this case, there's a task. And then under a task, there's another layer called a subtask layer that you can put subtasks. So you have this out-of-the-box 3-level hierarchy. You can also build up and have an even greater hierarchy if you get one of the higher tiers of Jira called Premium or Enterprise. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with parent-to-child relationships in Jira. So there's other opportunities within this business project, but this is what I really wanted to highlight, these different out-of-the-box visualizations, boards, lists, calendars, lots of different things you can do with organizing these projects, assigning people, permissioning, workflows. All this stuff can be very customized and set up. And then you can package governance around this, where these, again, are set up where you have to work with your Jira admins to make changes in a lot of these respects, because you want to have really good governance in your tools as well. So there you have it. That's one possible way to consider for task management within your team. All right, and as you're thinking about questions, again, put those in the Q&A. I'll be happy to answer those later on in the webinar. Our next example is related to project management. Okay, so we're kind of going up a level from just tasks up to projects. So who is potentially in need of some help in solutioning project management? Well, this is for PMO teams, HR teams, marketing teams, really any type of team who manages projects. Okay, it's not just going to be your software teams, your IT teams. So the problem often is with managing projects is it's difficult to keep track of all the work when maybe many different teams are collaborating to help deliver a project or complete a project. And there's lots of different handoffs between people on teams or between one team and another team. Okay, so there could be just misalignment, delayed handoffs. There's just potentially a lot of manual status reports happening where somebody has to do a lot of work to do that versus letting tools kind of show you status reports very quickly, very real time. So there could also be missing information, things like that. Additionally, we've worked with many companies where, again, projects are being managed and tracked within Excel or within PowerPoint that take a lot of tedious manual updates constantly and have to be shared, and it's hard to visualize them across your organization. So those are some of the problems we've seen and worked with. And then the solution, again, at a high level, is to make work more visible and to also to automate the reporting so you don't have to spend so much time on those manual status updates. So that's the solution at a high level. Again, the tools to consider using are, you could use Jira Work Management for this. You could also use Jira Software, those software projects. That's what I'm going to show you shortly. And you can use Confluence. So my next demo is we're going to look into a Jira software project and how that then aligns very nicely and integrates very nicely with a Confluence space and pages within Confluence. So let's jump over there right now. So I'm going to come out of this business project, and now I'm going to go into a software project. So you'll be able to see some of the similarities and differences here. So very quickly, you'll see some differences in the way it's set up with the menu items in this software project, but there are a lot of similarities as well. So you come into what are called boards, if boards are set up in the project. Here, I have a board set up. It's called a Kanban board. And it looks similar to the board I showed you in the business project, where you have these columns set up based on the workflow statuses of the work items in the project. This particular project, as the title notes, is a marketing project management project. So this is meant to be a demo of a marketing team and the projects they're working on. So those projects here are represented by that epic work item that I mentioned earlier, that lightning bolt. And then underneath those epics are going to be tasks, again, that checkbox icon. And there could even be subtasks underneath those. But the idea is that the epics represent a project. So I have my project alpha, project beta, project epsilon out here. And I can see on this board, where are they at? Are they waiting to be done? Are they in progress, or are they done? This is a really basic workflow. But in this case, I have project alpha that I'm going to focus on. And when I click on one of the cards, I get what's called the view screen of this work item. And each work item can have very customized fields and custom fields and workflows, lots of different customizations. In this case, this epic is meant to represent a project. So I have fields related to that, like the background of the project, the business objectives, the scope, the assumptions. Again, this has just a bunch of lorem ipsum dummy text in it, but you can scroll down and I can see the child issues. These are the tasks that are meant to help deliver and complete the project, in this case, the alpha project. I can scroll out even further. I can see mentions and Confluence. We'll get there shortly. View screens also allow for commenting. You can see history. You can track time within Jira, things like that. And then also on this left-hand side, you can start to see more the people and the date fields. Who's assigned to this? Who are the sponsors and the stakeholders? Goals I'm just going to touch on briefly at the end around some other new features coming into Jira. But you have date fields you can put in. You can put in all sorts of other fields within Jira. But this is meant to be, again, the source of truth for the project. It's showing up here as an epic in this particular Jira project, okay, with specific fields that could be updated real time. And then this can also then be the basis for the information over in Confluence. So now I'm going to switch gears to Confluence. Again, this is just out here in the cloud. It's integrated very tightly with that Jira site that I've been showing you so far. So out here, Jira or Confluence is broken up and organized by what are called spaces. So projects over in Jira, spaces here in Confluence. And within spaces, you have what are called pages. And as you can see here, pages are organized with a hierarchy of pages. So you have a parent page and you can have various layers of hierarchy over here. So what I'm highlighting here is a page that is also meant to be used for a status update for Project Alpha. You can see in the left-hand menu that there are different pages for each of those projects represented as epics in Jira. So this is Project Alpha. I can see here that I have a link in for that epic over in Jira, and it shows very nicely. There's some what are called smart linking options in Confluence, so that you put a URL, and if there's a smart link available for it, Confluence is going to give you options on how to display it in really cool ways. As I scroll down here, there's also a gadget called a calendar, or a Teams calendar for Confluence here. So again, this is meant to kind of give a sense of what's happening with this project, or what's happening with the overall marketing team and where they're at, maybe their time off or their meetings or special events happening. As I scroll down further, I see a table here within this page that has both information that's been put into Confluence directly and also information that Confluence has pulled in from the Jira epic that represents this epic or this project. So some of these status fields here, or status, I guess, cells, these are updated, can be updated real time in Confluence. And then the project details like start, target end, status, this is coming from the Jira epic. So again, anything gets updated in Jira, in real time, it's updated over here in this Confluence page. As I scroll down further, again, more things that can come over directly from Jira, like the current work items, the work items in progress underneath this epic. Then there's a completed work area. What's been completed? When has it been resolved? If I scroll down further, there's milestones and deadlines within this project. Again, these are just all work items within the Jira project that are rolling up as children underneath the epic. If I scroll down further, I can highlight various fields from that epic here, like stakeholders. Some of those other large text fields that I showed earlier in Jira can be shown in Confluence. So again, if Jira has those real-time updates, they can be shown in real time in Confluence as well. So Confluence could be the basis where your leadership, your stakeholders could come over here and get an up-to-date view in what's happening with this project, as well as lots of other things. And then lastly, to show here that there's multiple projects represented in Confluence, and then those projects can all then be summarized in a summarized page. And I'm not going to go in depth here. We have other Confluence bootcamps and other Confluence webinars to kind of show you some of the nuances of this. But the idea here is this page is an index page or a summary page of the pages underneath it. So here I get a real quick snapshot of all the projects, all the statuses on each of them, and even some real-time updates from Jira for each of them as they are represented by the individual epics in Jira. So hopefully that gives you a sense of some ideas here. There's also something called advanced roadmaps, or what is now called plans, within Jira Premium and Jira Enterprise that you can do visualization in Jira with those, and you can bring that plan in and share it in a Confluence page. So that's another opportunity to consider. Before I jump off to the next example, I do also just want to very quickly touch on a newer product within the Atlassian ecosystem called Atlas. And I will say that Atlas isn't necessarily out there as something to purchase, but the Atlas functionality is being now rolled into Jira proper in the cloud. So some of these things I'm going to show you are available in early access programs and are eventually going to be available, within the Jira cloud for all users. So this Atlas product, again, don't really get hung up on the name Atlas, but what this brings in are what are called Atlassian projects, where you can represent a project that your teams are working on out here. And let me just jump into one that I've mocked up here for Project Alpha. So here you can put in updates, you can put in learnings, you can put in risks and decisions that are being made around this product or this particular project. You can also put contributors. You can follow it. Other people can follow it, kind of like you're following maybe an Instagram post, things like that. You can also put in what are called goals. So this is another new thing, again, coming into the cloud. But goals can be put out here, and you can have parent goals and child goals. You can link these goals to projects. You can also link goals to epics over in Jira. So again, you're trying to achieve these goals or potentially, and they through projects or through various work items over in Jira. So just wanted to highlight that this is coming into, again, the cloud, the Jira cloud, and it's another thing to consider in addition to Confluence for highlighting project updates in real time. Okay, so that wraps up that project management example. Next, I'm going to take a short commercial break to tell you a little bit more about Valiantys. We are an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner. So again, we're 100% dedicated to the Atlassian ecosystem. We've been a 13-time Atlassian Partner of the Year. We handle 65 of the global Fortune 500 companies. So they work with us. We handle either their licensing and or their services, just provide a lot of support for those global, so 65 of the global 500. We have a full stack development center of excellence. Again, so custom solutions. We can absolutely help you with your needs to integrate Atlassian products with other products, to do custom front ends, you name it. There's all sorts of things we can do. We are Atlassian's first global partner. We have 24/7 global coverage with 600 plus team members. Again, we have team members around the world. Again, I'm based in North America, but we have teams in EMEA and APAC, all over the world. So we also, just quickly on ways we can help you, consulting, again, any type of consulting, whether that be standing up new Atlassian products or doing migrations of your products, custom solutions, just you name it, whatever that looks like, we can certainly help. We also provide licensing support. So again, if you're looking to get away from monthly billing to an annual billing, and potentially just any other licensing support you might need with add-ons, we can help with that. We also, again, have that custom solution piece within our company for integration and development. We also have managed services offerings. If you need hosting of your on-prem platforms, or potentially just need a little lighter touch of support, we have managed services. And lastly, we have training. So just a lot of various training opportunities, public boot camps. We have these webinars, as you have found out, that happen weekly, and a lot of custom training opportunities as well for your company. Okay, end of the commercial, but love to talk with you more about that as well. If you need any help at all, you'll see my email, see other details about how to reach out to us in the chat as well. So let's move on to our example number 3, hiring and onboarding. So who is this for? Well, HR teams makes a lot of sense. That's who you might think would need hiring and onboarding. But it's also really anyone who hires and onboards. We didn't have a very huge HR team earlier in Valiantys history, and we've used Jira for a lot of this ourselves within delivery, and you'll kind of see how this works and how this sort of workflow and process could relate to any team that's doing more enablement or onboarding of new team members. So the problem is that everyone has unique needs and unique processes that change over time. So the pain points I'm going to focus on here in this example were with an insurance company that we worked with. And this insurance company was a large company. They were hiring thousands of people to be agents each year. And so they had to know exactly where people were at in the pipeline. They had to coordinate onboarding tasks across multiple teams. They also had to sync those onboarding tasks with external systems. And they also had to meet insurance industry compliance. So a lot of different pain points they had, a lot of things they needed for a custom solution. And this company they were stuck in spreadsheets, and which again was making the collaboration and visibility very difficult. So we worked with them to get them onboarded into Jira with a tailored workflow. And I'll show you actually 2 different workflows we did that provided clear next steps in the processes. It allowed for validation of information, so you couldn't go from one step to another without certain things, requirements being managed. It also helped with the automation of tasks in the future, so downstream that needed to be done, like getting people a laptop or a phone, or just the equipment they needed, or to get them set up in the HIRS system correctly. So a lot of different integrations and automation was set up as well within this workflow. And obviously kept those guardrails in place to meet compliance. So the tools that were used, you could use Jira Service Management, could also use Jira Software for this. In this case, I'm going to show you an example within Jira Software. Again, I'm really going to highlight the focus on the workflow, and these workflows can also be used in Jira, even in Jira Work Management, potentially, a business project. So let's jump back into our cloud instance of Jira. So now I'm going to go to the onboarding project. This again is a software project here within Jira. And the work items here, they're not tasks. The work items actually represent people. And this particular board is showing work items that are just represented by tier 1. They have that 1 icon. So this is a focus on the onboarding of tier 1 agents for this insurance company. So each of these cards represents a new person who's been hired, and they're going through the process of actually being recruited, being scheduled, then trained, then peer monitoring, then good to go. There's some more here that I'm going to show you, but so let's jump into one of these cards. And so again, this represents a person who's being onboarded, Florence Christie. And what I want to highlight here is they're currently in the training status within the whole onboarding process. But what I can do is open up this and click on View Workflow. And here I get a glimpse of a Jira workflow. And this is a very involved one and very specific one to the onboarding process. So workflows within Jira are made up of two main things. One are statuses. That's represented by these pills or lozenges here on the screen. So these are the statuses that a person would be going through, like recruited, scheduled, training, peer monitoring, good to go. So they represent kind of where is this person at in the whole onboarding workflow. There's also, you can see withdraw, no-show, and terminated, which could be a possibility. Then these lines between the statuses are what are called transitions. And transitions is where Jira can do a lot of work for you. A lot of automation can be built into these. So when a person goes from recruited to scheduled, there could be automation within this transition to, let's say, get them set up with a person to mentor them or to come alongside them, or to potentially update some other system outside of Jira, like an HIRS system, or to potentially create new tasks down the road for somebody else in some other department to work on for something that's needed for them. So a lot of opportunity for automation. And within these transitions is also where you can basically say, you can put some things in place, some guardrails in place where somebody can't move from one status to another until they've gotten this training done or this certification done, something like that. So that's all possible with this. And then there's also different workflow transitions that can happen at any time. Like in this case, there's a request termination transition that at any point in this process, potentially somebody's just not working out. It's not a good fit. And so this transition is used to reach out again to maybe different outside external systems, or just what have you, whatever's needed in order to help with the the termination process. So you can see here a lot of cool opportunities. Every work item in Jira has a workflow. It has to have a workflow. It could be as simple as to do and done, but it has to have a workflow. And this is one example. Okay, so that's the tier 1 workflow. This company also had a tier 2 onboarding process. Again, for people that maybe were tier 1 that want to move up to tier 2, or maybe they needed to hire people from the outside. So you can see this has its own board. It has its own work item type called the tier 2. Again, these represent people here. And so I can click into one of these, like this one for Kelly. I'm noting that they're in the certified status. And when I open up this workflow, you can see that this other work item type has its own workflow. So every work item can have its own workflow. In this case, they're onboarding tier 2 agents. So tier 2 agents require more expertise, more training. So it's a longer workflow where there's recruiting. But here you have testing, they have to pass, they have to be then certified, there's advanced training and peer mentoring. You can also see that sometimes somebody may already be certified, so they'll jump straight from being scheduled to the certified status. So you can put transitions from any status to any other status, and clearly you have to work through and go in a specific order here, but you can jump over in certain places. And ultimately, you're trying to get somebody to the good to go status. So they're ready to go. We trust them to be a tier 2 agent in the company. And again, you can put automation in between any of these particular statuses. So again, just another potential workflow to consider, or hopefully this gets the ideas started, or about how your team could potentially use Jira, or again, a business project, even Jira Service Management. All the work items have to have a workflow, and you can get very creative and put a lot of automation into them. Okay, hopefully that stirred some ideas for you and your team for onboarding. We're going to carry on then to our fourth example, and this is just a very generic name of service desks. So service desks, often you're thinking maybe for facilities or for your IT, for computer problems, things like that. But this is applicable for really any type of team, okay? Any team you can think of, HR, marketing, facilities, legal, anyone, because most of the teams in your company are really service teams, right? They're serving other people and other teams within your company, or potentially external customers. But your legal team, right? They're helping to provide services oftentimes for other team within your company. Maybe your sales team, they're writing contracts. They need legal to look at it. So your legal team, how are they getting to know that they have a request from sales potentially? So again, this can apply to anyone. So the problem often here is that there's many different channels for intake. There's no clear prioritization. There's no visibility into the process for who's actually making the request, right? So again, multiple channels, like there's emails, there's Slack, MS Teams. You might run into somebody in the hallway. If you're not working remotely, just having a conversation on the phone with someone, and then you realize, oh yeah, I need help with something. And hey, can you help me? But how does that really actually end up in a place where the team knows that needs to be done, and that work can actually be assigned to somebody, and that somebody who needs the work done isn't always like messaging your team in Slack saying, hey, I need help. What's the latest update? Like, how can you come up with a solution that can solve all those problems? And really at a high level, it is using service desks with clear intake forms, and that those service desks on the back end would have a way to prioritize the work coming in into queues, and that there can be real-time updates to the person requesting them. And there could be knowledge articles and a whole wealth of knowledge at the ready for both the people on the team helping with those requests, and also for the customers, whether they be internal customers or external customers, that would have a wealth of knowledge articles to potentially look at, and not even have to put in or submit a ticket for help. Okay, so hopefully I've set the stage for what I'm going to show you, which is going to be Jira Service Management coupled with Confluence for the knowledge base piece of it. So let's come back into Jira. And now I'm going to go into a service desk project, which again is a different, Jira Service Management is a different product compared to Jira, those business and software projects. So it is a different license that you need to purchase. And actually, let's start here. This is one of the many things you get with Jira Service Management. You get a portal. So you get a URL that you can send your people to, whether they be internal or external, and they'll come to something like this, and they can search for information out here. And as we scroll down, you can see that there's some featured portals, and there's a HR service desk, there's a facilities service desk, there's other service desks out here as I open this up. Each of these service desks is represented in Jira Service Management by its own project. Okay, again, that can be very customized with its own work items and fields, and the team of people that are managing those tickets coming in. So let's look here at the HR service desk. So when you come into that, you can see a number of different request types of how this team is set up to respond to tickets. So a number of different ones. You could have one, like let's look at employee onboarding. You can see here that there's lots of opportunity for different types of fields, for different ways to lay out the portal request form. And this can be tied in again with what are called assets. You can bring up potentially a pull from different databases, which I'm not going to get into. There's other webinars that really get deep into all the features of Jira Service Management. but just to highlight, there's lots of different fields that you can put on these forms. And then to submit those, I'm going to come back in here and just do a very basic one. I'm going to use this questions for HR. Okay, and so I come in here and then it's saying, what's your request? I need help with a name change. And so when I type this in, notice that Jira Service Management is going to go over to Confluence. It's going to look up to see if there's any articles over in Confluence that might be helpful to offset the need for a ticket. So it's doing its best to find that. And here's an FAQ that could be used to help with that. So I could click on that, and notice it's going to open up the Confluence article here within Jira Service Management Portal. But let's say, you know what, that doesn't fully help me. I still need help. With this. Okay, so just a really basic ticket form. And when I click send, notice now that I, as the customer, can see the ticket that I created. Yeah, I can see exactly what it is. There's the description of what I put in here. I can see at any point in time the status of it. I also, if there's updates to this, I will also get an email about status changes or comments or updates to this ticket. And notice that I can correspond back and forth with whoever the agent, let's call them, who's corresponding with me about this particular request. So I'll get comments back from them, and I can also then submit comments either through this or via email. So, and I can share it with other people as well. So you can see here that there's great visibility with these service desks, where I don't have to keep asking, what's the latest? I can see very quickly what the latest is with this, and interact very easily with a history, again, that can be looked at for audit purposes or whatever. So, and then when I open this up now as an agent, as somebody on the HR team, so again, now going into the back end, and I'm into the project now, and I can see this particular ticket here. I can also, as an agent, go up here under issues and filters, double check and see what this looks like. I can look at all my issues out here, and I can see, you know, are they being worked on or not? But actually, let me go back into this name change here. And I, as the agent, see this. I can see who raised it. I can see all the fields they filled out. A lot of the times those fields will then get filled out into Jira fields that will show up in other places on this view screen. And I can also comment back and forth with that user, or I can even make an internal comment as needed. I can go under more fields, and I basically can find out other information. I can look up knowledge base articles, things of that nature out here. And so it's really great opportunity to, again, for your team to know who's working on that. Are there any that still need to be worked on? And there's just visibility for everybody to handle those. So again, service desks are really, really helpful. We use them internally, again, legal, marketing, facilities, you know, IT. We use those a lot here, even with Valiantys. So they're very, very helpful. All right. Last example here, centralized knowledge. Okay, who does this apply to? Well, everyone, every type of team, any type of organization, any type of industry, right? You are doing work, you are amassing knowledge about how you do your work, or, you know, just whatever that looks like. And ideally, you have a place where you can find the information very quickly, no matter what type of team you're on, and that information is up to date, and you can tell when it's been updated. So the solution at a very high level is a central organized portal for all of that knowledge. And again, the key word here is portal. It's not necessarily like just one repository that has all the knowledge and you go there, like you just use Google Drive or you just use SharePoint. No, the idea here is, you know, oftentimes it's hard to figure out where stuff is if you're just going into Google Drive or just going into SharePoint. You need some more like organized portal that can really point you in the right direction. And that's where Confluence can come in. So let me show you a few ways, again, some ideas on how Confluence could be used to be that great one place for organizing your information and where to go to get it. So again, I'm back in Confluence. I'm back in this marketing space. Here's the main homepage for this that you can put a lot of different potential macros in that will point you in different directions, even within this particular space here. So I can see recently updated pages. I can see a whole page tree within this space very quickly. Let me go to the home page for the team, the marketing team. So this, any other team could come out here and go, hey, what's happening with the marketing team? What are they about? What are their latest updates? And you can very quickly learn more about the marketing team. You can know where to find them. And notice that some of these links are going out to other Confluence pages. So Confluence, again, great place for wikis, for editing pages, for storing a lot of great content. But it may not be the only place that your team or your company is storing things. So, or links that they need to go to. So there's other web pages you can put links in for, LinkedIn, YouTube, you name it. Because your companies often are not just using one place to store information, but Confluence could become that portal again to point you in the right direction to get to what you want to see. So there's a little bit more about our team. Again, that team calendar can be brought in with Confluence Premium or Enterprise. We have a lot of links out here for brochures and logos and swag. And again, these may not be in Confluence. Actually, they happen to live out in Google. So this points you directly to a Google Drive link. But you wouldn't maybe know how to get to it if you were just in Google Drive. But here's a nice quick link to it. So lots of cool things you can do out here. As well as that, you can also, again, there's all those smart link opportunities within Confluence. I want to highlight a few more things here. So the new product plan. So if your marketing team's working on a new product plan and your team also happens to use Miro for whiteboarding and for coming up with those ideas, you can put in a link to a Miro board directly into Confluence, and it will see, notice that it's Miro, and render it in line. And then if you also, like myself, have the ability in Miro to make updates, it's almost like I'm already in Miro. And notice I can make updates real time in this Miro board, but I'm in Confluence, so I don't have to swivel chair to different tools. So again, really cool. And then other users who may not have a Miro license can still come in here and they can see this updated in real time. The next page is around a trade show for Las Vegas. We're planning in 2025 as our marketing team. Well, maybe our marketing team isn't using Jira, potentially. We're using Trello instead for our boards and to work on our tasks and our plans. Well, we can put in our Trello board link in here and it's going to show real time here, and it's interactive. So maybe I'm the person working on training the booth staff and I'm going to start working on that. So I can come over here and shift it from one column to the next. And this will be updated over in Trello. Anyone who comes into this page as well will see that updated real time. So again, really cool smart links available within Confluence. One last example is this current ad pricing page. As I noted earlier, our team is also using Google Drive for a lot of our documents and spreadsheets. So here I can bring those in line. I can see them here in line. And I can also get my quick link to jump back into Google proper and make edits there as well. And Confluence also has some new things they're working on, like database pages out here. They also have whiteboards that are a new feature in Confluence. So maybe your team doesn't need, or your company may not even need Miro or all those other different whiteboarding products out on the market these days. They're building that into Confluence as well. So Confluence could, again, be a great consideration, especially if you're using other Atlassian products. There's such a tight integration between Confluence and these other products. And it's just a great place to share information very quickly and to organize it really well. All right, that was the final example. Whew, we made it through all 5. Again, hope that these were really helpful for you and got you thinking about something that might be one of your pain points. So now we have time for questions. Again, if you have any questions, you can put those into the Q&A part of the tool. Good, I can see Kristen's been adding in some great links for you. Let me have a look here at the Q&A. Looks like a couple questions are coming in. Bear with me. Let me just read these quickly. Okay, one of the questions is, do you offer training on the tools that you showed today? And yeah, the answer is yes. We can train on all of those products. In fact, we do have, let me scroll actually to the next visual here, and we'll kind of leave this up while I'm answering questions. So we do have a lot of trainings. Some of them you can see here within this list of upcoming events. We have, let's see, we're in December. So actually just this week, we had a Jira Bootcamp and a Confluence Bootcamp. Those are public classes. Those do have a cost to them. So that's like some really deep dives into Jira and Confluence, really helpful, especially if you're going to be an admin or a super user in those tools. We have Jira Service Management Bootcamp. When's our next one? Oh, that happened back in November. But you can see here in January, we have bootcamps coming up for Jira, Confluence, Jira Service Management. Again, you could consider those if you really want to dig into those. Otherwise, we have other webinars out here. We also can certainly work with your company and do customized training for any of these products. We have a really nice Atlassian User Academy that has Jira and Confluence built into it, unlike potentially like a half day for many users that you might have. So we definitely specialize in training and can certainly help you with these or any of the other Atlassian products that your organization has. We can help with that. All right. And then, yeah, somebody was asking about those Atlassian projects and goals that I touched on. And again, those were originally created under that Atlas product, but those again are coming more and more into the Jira cloud system of work. So those are going to become more and more available to you. You might even start to see them pop up if you are in Jira, and there's this whole idea of goals that are popping up so that you can sign up for, and you can start to get some early access and try out those projects and goals that they end up showing in a different place other than Jira. You end up going out to this Atlassian home area, and that's where those projects and goals are created. And they also bring in the Atlassian teams, which I didn't touch on, but Atlassian's making a lot of strides in their overall system of work with all their products fitting together nicely in the cloud. And so I'm really excited to see where things go with those Atlassian projects and goals. Okay, well, I think that's all we have in the way of questions. Again, I'm really, really glad you could join me today in looking at all these different examples of how Jira is good for all teams, not just IT or software teams. If you do have any more questions or want to talk further about anything that we've talked about today, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn with this QR code. You can also email me at jason.kidner@valiantys.com, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But again, hopefully this webinar has been very valuable for you, and good luck with your journey with Atlassian products. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.